Another day, another completely off-base take on why fighting games don't appeal to a broader audience. Am I right, guys, gals, and envies? So if you got the same brain rot as me, you can't help but navigate to the website formerly known as Twitter.com and read the most mind-numbingly stupid FGC takes. And honestly, I should probably just stop. But today we're going to be talking about the most recent wave of execution discourse that has been sparked by, of course, the inclusion of the dreaded modern controls in Street Fighter 6. So I've prepared a little short presentation here that can hope can help some of you out with really pinpointing what the real issue is as to why fighting games don't appeal to a broader audience. So let's get it started. Are motion inputs a deterrent for new fighting game players? Not even a little bit. All things in life have an executional learning curve. So, as you guys know, I'm probably just going to be reading straight off these slides. Let's get it. So here we got some IRL combos listed. So, walking, you don't remember this because, this is kind of you do this as like an infant or a toddler, so you're not really conscious of it, and your brain's got a lot of neuroplasticity at the time. So it's one of the things you got to do. You walk, you check your phone, that's a combo. You walk and chew or eat, also a combo. That actually bleeds into the second one here. Eating solid food, so you gotta take your utensil. You gotta, cut it, put it on the fork or a spoon, or just scoop it, right? Put it in your mouth, chew it. I know that's a lot of motion inputs you gotta do in the moment, but that's a combo. You know what I mean? And typing a word on your keyboard without looking down. Wow, what a combo! You know what I mean? I used to work at a pharmacy, and my coworkers were a lot of middle-aged women, and they'd struggle. You know what I mean? And it's understandable. I've had a keyboard in front of me, since I was a kindergartner, as most people of my generation do in the 20 to 30 bracket. But I have in parentheses there. You ever seen a 50-year-old type? And that's the old guy down in the corner. I mean, he's posing for the picture, but he'd be struggling otherwise. You know what I mean? And reading, of course. You have to read the words. You have to process what they say. But it's tough. It's tough for sure. Sometimes you come across a word you don't know, and that creates a problem. You know what I mean? You have to look up the word. That's a whole ass combo. You know what I mean? Writing as well. You gotta think about what you're gonna write. Then you have to take the pencil, or you have to type on the keyboard. You have to do all of that. Isn't that crazy? Like, what a combo. You know what I mean? Now we got some learning curves in video games. You know what I mean? Just using a controller in a video game. You kind of have to learn, around the control scheme. A lot of us, we're pretty familiar with WASD on keyboards, for navigating, any general game. We think about that. It's kind of a framework of thinking. We have that just kind of ingrained into us. A joystick for fighting games, for example, that's an adjustment. A hitbox, that's an adjustment. A PS5 controller, also an adjustment. You know what I mean? Regardless of what you play on, you're going to have to learn how to use it to begin with. It's not going to be easy off rip. I started with an Xbox One controller, thought it was shit. Switched to a stick, I was still shit, but I just stuck with the stick, and now, I can play fighting games well. Of course, aiming in shooters. This is a divisive one. A lot of people are like, shooters are so easy, man. You just run around, you point and click. I don't know, man. If I sat down like my dad, if he hadn't played video games before, and tried to explain to him that he can't move and shoot in, CS:GO and Valorant and fire accurately, he'd probably be like, "What do you?" He would struggle. He'd be like, "What do you mean? I can't move and shoot?" Like he's played Call of Duty before. You know what I mean? Um, so even just aiming in shooters. First off, I don't think a motherfucker that's 35 plus could pull off a flick shot unprompted. You know what I mean? Like without a ton of practice, or consistently and confidently aim angles for headshots, common angles, shit like that. You know what I mean? Half the battle of aiming in CS:GO or Valorant is knowing the map, knowing head height, knowing where people are going to commonly peek from, checking your angles. You know what I mean? Camera panning in League, Dota, or StarCraft, because they all stem from a Warcraft mod, right, or a StarCraft mod. A lot of motherfuckers play a locked camera in League of Legends. Dota 2, you can kind of play with locked camera. StarCraft, you can't really play with locked camera. In games like this, you can just set up different keybinds. Like I use the F keys on my keyboard to say if I'm like, playing a character that has to manage multiple units at once in Dota or in StarCraft, right? League of Legends is kind of a simplified version of that. It's just basic camera panning, you know what I mean? But I don't play with lock camera, and I don't even think about it at this point, right? But like when I play with friends that have only started playing in more recent years, they just play on locked camera. I'm like, you can't be doing that, man. You just got to develop the fundamentals. Like you waste so much screen space with your character centered. And anybody that's playing any of these games at a high level would tell you that. You know what I mean? And then further, MOBA terminology, just laning in a MOBA. Last hitting minions in a MOBA is not something a lot of players can even do consistently. I still fuck it up in my games because it's hard because you have to manage it with trading, your recall timing, teleporting in Dota, courier usage in Dota, right? These are all things that are infinitely more complex than doing a quarter circle forward or a Shoryuken motion or a super move in a fighting game conceptually. Yet, you don't hear League of Legends players being like, damn, bro, they really need to take last hitting out of this. This is too hard. Or Dota players be like, damn, they really need to, make it so my courier just is, like it just always grabs my shit automatically for me. I can't send it anywhere extra. Like it should just come straight to me. Like nobody says that because they're ultimately, they realize that they're playing the game, even if they're not playing the game well, per se, right? Relative to a high level player. But it's all relative because if they're playing well at their skill bracket, they're going to win. They're going to improve at the game if they are critically thinking about these things, right? And of course, motion inputs in fighting games. The first fighting game I played seriously was Mortal Kombat 10. I was dog shit doing specials in that game. And I figured out how to do it finally. And then I didn't play fighting games for a while. And I came back for Street Fighter 5. And you know what I couldn't do? Quarter circle back supers consistently on an Xbox controller. Nowadays, bro, playing on a stick and with lots of practice, I don't have to think about it. But I remember being bad at doing anti-air shoryukens or super moves or shit like that. It's something everybody goes through. You know what I mean? That's why it's called a learning curve. If you're a new player, you're learning. You're on the curve. You're on the lower end of the curve, right? So, furthermore. So wait, execution isn't what keeps people from playing fighting games? That's right. People will find any reason to diffuse responsibility for their poor actions in video games. So, I have obviously the Shoryuken input here, some cavemen, and if you dropped out of the reading learning curve too early because it was too hard, that says defeat. It's from League of Legends. You know, just it's just how it goes, you know what I mean? So what actually keeps people, or what keeps fighting games from appealing to more people? Well, you see, fighting game developers have been putting out subpar commercial products for $60 for the past decade. Understandably, they started off as arcade game makers. Those weren't great games either. You know what I mean? It's just kind of they're still in an archaic sort of arcade port to console frame of mind, I think, in some cases like Tekken 7, right? And only fighting game players buy them to keep the studios afloat. You know, that really is the case because fighting games wouldn't exist without the dedicated fighting game community at this point because we're really the only motherfuckers buying these games. You know what I mean? Because like as I say here, what normal person wants to buy a game with shit single player and then get rolled by some dude online that's been playing for a decade? If you're Joe Schmo working 40, 50 hours a week, right? That you're not going to spend $60 on some game that is just package wise terrible. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure you guys played Street Fighter 5 or Guilty Gear Strive. Single player abysmal in those games. You know what I mean? Street Fighter 5 at launch was not worth $60. I still bought it because I just wanted to play Street Fighter and get good at it. But that was a terrible product. Guilty Gear Strive, objectively, a terrible product, even though I love the game. You know what I mean? The online didn't work for months. I was so mad. The single player, there isn't any. It's a movie. It's a glorified movie. And like, I just didn't play the game because I couldn't. It was terrible. It was terrible, terrible phase. So what's the solution? They could just make better games and still charge money. Granted, I think I'd go with the latter here. Go free to play and create a different monetization model and spike the player base in the process. aka copy Project L's homework. It's like if you look at any competitive genre, whether it be MOBAs, shooters, etc., right? They're all free to play now, and they've taken a different route, whether it be cosmetics for monetization, right? Street Fighter 6 has a battle pass. I think Capcom's already setting the game up to go free to play after a certain point, but Project L, I think, might change a lot of the fighting game landscape with that, because when you make the game not locked behind a $60 price point, you get a lot more people that are willing to try it and maybe learn it. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers play League of Legends, CSGO, Dota 2, Valorant, even though half the games you're getting trolled by one of the apes on your team. You know what I mean? Trying to juggle coordination with 4 random motherfuckers you don't know online is infinitely harder and more frustrating than any fighting game scenario you could put in. Like, it's not even close. Conclusion. Developers need to do better, and dumbasses need to stop tweeting. You know? That pretty much sums it up. And of course, I'm going to play the classic clip here. I'm sure you've seen it. Thank you, Majin Obama.
Basketball, but I don't want to practice dribbling, shooting, doing layups, defending, any fundamentals, basically. I don't want to practice anything. By the way, this game sucks. Change the ball.
And that's it.